Well, I was 13 years old when my brother was called up to be deported, and my father called us together and said, "We are going to go into hiding and we are going to separate again." And this was for me, we had been separated before through the war, and so I was very, very upset about that. And my father explained, if we go into different places, the chance that two of us will survive is bigger. And that was really, as a 13-year-old, the first time that I realized it is a matter of life and death. And that's, of course, very scary. So from then on, I really became very much afraid that, we might get caught and we might be killed. So it was really a very, very difficult time. And just with my mother as company, we got on very well, but nevertheless, what do you have to talk 2 years? So it was, and I thought that was already the worst what can happen to me. But of course, this was actually nothing compared to what happened later on. When I came back, and especially, I think if my father and brother would have survived, I wouldn't have been so depressed. But because I realized we will never be a family again, I became very depressed and I hated everybody. And having seen this unbelievable cruelty in the camp, that, you know, um, made me realize what human beings are able to do, especially to little children, and they had no feeling for humanity at all. And the only thing what we could do in the camp was pray. And that's what we did for God to stop those atrocities. But God didn't listen, or he wasn't there. So I decided, like many, many other people, there can't be a God. Or if there is, something is obviously not powerful. And living without any belief, not in a God and no in humanity, is tough. It's difficult to say, of course, how my life would have been without this experience, but it certainly left a big, big mark on my whole attitude to everything. And I was, of course, extremely close with my mother. You know, but on the other hand, we never ever spoke about our feelings, how we were both very, very miserable and sad, but we never talked about that. We pretended to each other as if we can cope, and both of us couldn't really cope. I met in England my future husband, so I got married pretty early. I really wanted to belong, and I wanted desperately to have a family. And I think the birth of my first daughter in 1956 was really a change to my attitude, because this is a wonderful experience to give birth to a child. And I realized life goes on. There is future, there is hope. Otto Frank, who became, at that time, he was just a good house friend. He came a lot, and he, who had lost everything really, had no hatred. And he was actually a proud German. He said, that was terrible. He admitted that, of course, but he said, I'm German myself, and I love their culture, and I love their poetry and their music and their whole way of thinking. And you put a smile on your face, go out in the world, and you will see it's not so bad. Well, for Otto, Anne and her diary was really his whole life. That was the most important thing, to spread the message. Not so much the diary as such, but the message he wrote. Because she was only 14, really, when she had those humanitarian ideas about how the world should be as well. There were 1.5 million Jewish children murdered, and she becomes a symbol of all those children. Have such hardship in life, really, really hardship, and being afraid not to have a life at all, to be killed, that was always hanging about me. I realized little things which people get very upset don't matter to me. I'm very happy. I've got a little apartment now. Unfortunately, I lost my husband last year. This was, of course, a big disappointment that we couldn't carry on living together. And but I realized I'm happy with little things. People buy and buy and buy and spend money, and they're greedy. They want this and this and this, and you're and it just doesn't end. And you can be happy with some friends, with going out for a nice meal, and children as well, they get spoiled. And I've heard now many young people have problems, um, and they commit even suicide. What a terrible thing for a young person to commit suicide because somebody is bullying them or something. Um, there's so much, life has so much to offer. Life is beautiful. We have a wonderful planet. And, we should look after that and be happy with what we have got. Politicians used to be really honest, wanting to have the best for their uh, people who they are representing. But you see now through the results with Brexit, you see through the result what happened in America with President Trump, that the leaders and the news have no idea what people really think. They just think, I want this, and they go ahead with whatever. And that is why they should really listen to what people really want. But the whole world has suffered through the Second World War. Millions of people have been killed and destroyed, and it was really terrible. And people said, we have learned our lesson. From now on, we are going to live in harmony, in peace. We are going to accept everybody. There won't be racism anymore. But after 10 years, again, the war started again, not in Europe, but in Vietnam and in Korea and in Cambodia. And now we are global. Now it affects the whole world. People from all over are involved in it and suffering. I very often speak with veterans from the Vietnamese War. And they have nightmares. They say, I'm not a bad person, but the things I've done is terrible. And I can't forget what I have done. Why put people in such situation? Now here too, the people who come back from Iraq or from Afghanistan, um, you think a soldier who has seen those atrocities can go back to his family and just live as if nothing has happened. They all have to have counseling. They can't speak with their children. They're upset. You know, Wars are terrible. We don't need wars. We could have a very, very rich, wonderful world with everybody get educated, everybody get enough food, everybody has a job if we don't do those terrible, terrible wars and create those weapons. Nobody wants those weapons. Trillions of money which is spent on armaments is terrible. Um, Money should be spent on education. Everybody knows that with educated people we can achieve something, not with soldiers. And so I think at the moment we're going in the wrong direction. We have no real good direction from any leader, really. There's no really powerful person. We need a Churchill, a humanitarian, a person who really thinks about the world, not about their own pockets.